Let's go.
All right. Well, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. This is Navigating Cancer in the Community, and my name is Chanel Disman. I am your host, and today we are joined by Delaney Sanders. He has been a longtime friend, and sometimes you lose touch with people, and circumstances will bring you back around and you reconnect. And we reconnected um, not too long ago in an unexpected manner, right?
It was.
And it just so happens that we were both traveling a journey that involved cancer. Not something that, one necessarily plans for, hopes for, ever intends to see in a sentence with their name on it. But nonetheless, we found ourselves in that situation. And um, what, what I found was even more interesting, Delaney, is that it wasn't something that was kind of broadcast, like it was kind of brought to my attention about you, and then it just was like, what? And then I think, we were just kind of messaging back and forth. And but it was so good to to just reconnect and
Absolutely.
and to have some conversations. But even in having those conversations, and it really it was shocking, right? Because all I was thinking was, this is my friend, this my friend. Like, we go way, 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 way. I
Way
ain't
back.
telling our age, but way back. We go way back.
Absolutely.
And Josh, gosh. So, if you would, for those, first of all, I want to say thank you, because the courage to stand up and to be transparent and vulnerable with this kind of information is already, that's it speaks volumes to who you are as an individual, as a human, and I would say as even in your consideration for other humans, right? Because this is huge. When you Nobody wants to really hear about the C word, right?
Right.
Um, it can be very frightening. There's the connotation of death, if you will, that, a lot of times is looming when a person hears that term, cancer. So
Right.
to be able to pull the sting out of that by way of the power of knowledge, the power of a testimony that if I can do this, you can too. You're not alone. There's someone else that's out here that can hold your hand, that can encourage you. And while I'm encouraging you, I'm encouraging myself. I have to applaud you. I have to appreciate you and just tell you thank you. Thank you. Not just for being here, but thank you for standing up and letting your voice be heard. I appreciate you.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you. Excuse me for moving about. I'm trying to take care of the boy at the same time, but yes, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't mind sharing my story. Like I told you from the beginning, if my story helps one person, then my job is done. That's my testimony. Um, I had no clue what was going on in my body. Felt great, looked great. Things were good. Life is good. Um, it's a car, man. It's a car and a truck. Yes. Um, and so my story began as a simple story. Um, Went to the doctor for my normal yearly checkup, right? And Doc say, "How you doing?" "Well, Doc, I feel good. I feel great. Everything is good. All cylinders are go." And she said, "Okay, well, we're gonna do the normal thing, the blood work and everything." "Okay, fine, no problem." And did that, and 2 days later, I get a phone call, which I was used to that, right? Excuse me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Used to the 2 day phone call. Usually she calls and says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know, got your lab work back. Everything was good, and we'll see you next year unless you need me before then."
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, this time that wasn't the story. She called me and she said, "Hey, I'm looking at your labs and things look a little off with your PSA." Now, granted, I had no clue what PSA was. Red, man, good job. And so I said, "Doc, what is that? Like, what is PSA? I didn't even know I had one of those, right?" And she kind of chuckled, right? Because I'm like, what is that?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, what that is it looks like something may be going on with your prostate." And I said, "Well, I don't feel anything. Nothing feels off or anything.
Yeah.
Feel good." And she said, "Well, let's get you into the doc. Let's get you into a specialist. Let's get you into the urologist and have him take a look." Um, to kind of move fast forward, not to prolong the story, but
Yeah.
did that, and the urologist says, "Yeah, man, it looks like we'll send you in for a biopsy because your numbers are high, definitely concerning." And so we went in for the biopsy, and they did what's called 15 punches.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 15, um, two came back positive for cancer.
Mm.
Um, and so, you mentioned the fact that when we hear the C word, we hear cancer, we think of it as a end all be all. That's an end of life sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I too felt that way because everybody I've ever known that has dealt with cancer, um, it was never good.
Yeah.
It was never good. So, um, actually was sitting at work, um, and got super emotional sitting at work because I'm like, man, this can't be my life,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and so, you know, huge Ty Tribbett fan, and
Mm-hmm.
he has a song "Only One Night" though,
Yeah.
and listening, and he always said, "You get one night to cry," you know. So I cried my one night, and I prayed, and look, I'm even getting emotional now. Um, um, I prayed and I said, "Well, God, your will. Whatever I need to do, I'm gonna do, and whatever your decision is, we're gonna accept it, live with it, and we're gonna carry on." Um, so moving forward, we begin radiation treatment, which um, technically went well, far as shutting down the cancer, at least in the prostate. Um, but like many treatments with cancer, you know, what fixes one thing damages another. Um, so there was some residual damage from the radiation. Um, that was very devastating, very hard to deal with again because you're like, man, thinking cancer is the worst thing that can happen, and then you do your treatment and you're good. Like, okay, wow, they got it. It stopped. It's gone, and then you find out, well, it is, but the radiation causes other damage to other parts of your body. So now you got to deal with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But again, never let my faith waver. Continuing to trust in God that everything is going to be okay. You know, I'm a firm believer in that He doesn't take us through things that we can't handle. Everything is a lesson, and everything is a testimony to help someone else. Um, so even in that, I begin the journey of, well, let me back up. I never told anybody what I was going through with the cancer. I didn't even tell my children until later, until I had begun treatment, and they were understandably like, "Come on, Dad, really? Like, why would you do that?" And my thing was, because I never want y'all to worry about me. That's my job to worry about y'all. It's not your job to worry about me. And so that was a big emotional thing there to deal with my children, to have to tell my family, um, to even put it on social media to let people know, hey, this is what I'm going through. Because nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody. My wife at the time, she knew, of course, but I even told her, look, this is nothing to just let me deal with this. Don't make a big deal out of it, telling people just let me go about my way. Let me go through my journey. Um, but eventually I did start tell people. And people were like, well, why didn't you say anything? Well, why didn't you say anything? And so I said, okay, well now I'm saying something. And so now what I'm gonna do, because I'm saying something, is I'm reaching out to all my brothers, all my men, all my frat brothers, my friends, my cousins. Okay, y'all want to know what's going on with me? This is what's going on with me. But what I need y'all to do is to begin to challenge your doctors, to tell your doctors, I need a PSA test. And they say, well, what is that? Your doctor will know what that is. You call your doctor, you tell your doctor you want to schedule a PSA test. And I had many of them call me back and say, well, they said it's not time for that. I said, well, you call them back and you tell them you're getting a new doctor that's going to do what you asked them to do, because you pay them. Your insurance pays them. And if that's what you want done, that's what they should do. And so I had a lot of friends and close, people that started to do that. And I was getting phone calls like, man, thanks, bro. I'm glad you told me, it came back good. Um, one, well, two stories at the time came back. Two of my cousins at the same time, they were both found to have prostate cancer as well. So, devastating to hear, but I'm glad that they took the step just by me saying, hey, do this for me. You do nothing else I ask you to do this. It's for you, but do it for me. Go get checked. They did. They were found positive for prostate cancer. One did have his procedure done and get it taken care of. The other one, we praying for him because he's kind of in that, not necessarily denial, but just not, I'll be good. But we're staying prayerful for him that he goes and he gets it taken care of, and believing and trusting that, God give these doctors the knowledge and the skill to be able to handle those things for a reason. And so we continue to pray for him that he takes the steps he needs to take to get it taken care of. And then, so moving forward, not so much as present day, but maybe probably been about close to almost 7 months now, I believe. Maybe off a little bit, give or take. I have a lot going on these days, but I go in for a checkup because I was having some issues. I started noticing some bleeding. And so went in, hey doc, something's wrong. Got some bleeding going on. We gotta check this thing out. And so well, the prostate is good. It's not that. Well, lo and behold, come to find out that the cancer had moved into my bladder and created some, along with the help from the radiation. It moved into my bladder, caused some scarring and some damage, and there was some internal bleeding, which was scary as ever to see that. But again, trusting in God, having faith, um, so we got that. We had a procedure and got that taken care of, and that stopped with the help of some medications. That spot shrunk, and there's no longer a trace of it there in my bladder. So that's a beautiful thing. Yes, praise God indeed. And so as of today, um, we are essentially cancer free.
Yay!
Um, I do have checkups coming in November, um, beginning in November and the middle of November, for some follow up checkups, some blood work, and those things. But as of right now,
Yes.
um, yes, as of right now, all is clear. All is well on that front.
Yes.
Yes, so so it's been a journey. Of course, I spent time lapsed a little bit on some things, but it's definitely been a journey. It's been a learning experience. It's been a teaching experience, like being able to talk to other people, friends, my children, to just encourage them to do more when it comes to their health, especially as men. I will admit, for a long time, I was one of those guys. If it didn't hurt, bleed, or burn, or I could see, I wasn't going to the doctor. Truck, man, it's a truck. And but lo and behold, I decided as I got a little older, so, yeah, I might need to start getting those checkups and making sure everything is good. And thankfully, I did, right? Because again, I felt great, no issues. There was no hurt, there was no pain, there was no discomfort, there wasn't anything to warn me and tell me this was going on in my body. And so that's why I took my journey and essentially turned it to a testimony and a motivation for others to just say, hey, brother, I get it, but go to the doctor, get checked out. You don't do nothing else. Go and just ask for a PSA. Go and get the blood work.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't feel like anything else is wrong, just go in and say, hey, I want a PSA test.
Yeah.
You know, and so I would again, a few people were encouraged, and they did take my advice and do that for me, and went and got checked. And again, like I said, thankfully, for the most part, everybody came back negative. My two cousins did come back positive. And again, grace of God, my cousin that did get his taken care of is doing well these days. He's cancer free as well. But we praying for my other cousin. He's a little stubborn, but we gonna get him in there. We gonna get him in there. But yeah,
Mm,
so that's pretty much my journey, and
that's
yeah,
powerful. I just have to again just applaud you in standing up, being vulnerable and sharing your story. Um and so I have a couple of questions.
absolutely.
One of the first things being when you said that you were encouraging other men, and for the most part, the reports you were getting back was all clear, but you had a couple of family members.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, you know, the first question on that is, how much did you know about your family medical history prior to this happening to you. And then upon the heels of cousins, with this similar diagnosis, did that cause you all to say, hey, we need to see if there's some history in our family, or did you already, have a good sense of what the medical history was?
So that's a great question because I did not have a clue.
Mm,
Um, and so unfortunate that in our community, that's something that we don't talk about,
mhm, mhm.
right? And so once it started to spread through the family of what I was going through, and of course, my cousins, they did their thing, and then I started to get, well, nephew, you know, 20 years ago, I did that, and I went through it, and I had the surgery, and I had this procedure, and I'm like, but why nobody ever said anything? And not that I was angry with them, but it's one of those things. Those things need to be told throughout the family, especially something like that that does run generationally,
Yeah,
especially in men.
yeah,
That needs to be talked about. That needs to be shared. Um, and so I definitely encourage everybody, and even Red, man, um, and even the people that I talked to and told them to get PSAs. That was another part of the question. Talk to your elders, and ask, especially the men, ask them had they dealt with prostate cancer. Was that something that the cancer period run in the family? And then it's not just the men, but start talking to the women. Find out if breast cancer is a thing.
hmm
Um, Ironically, after, of course, it started, going through the family that I'm dealing with prostate cancer and my cousins, and then just last year, my sister who lives in Texas, she calls me and she says, "Hey, I had a question." So she was raised by my great grandmother, so she wasn't raised here in Flint with the majority of my family. But she reached out to me and she said, "Hey, brother, I got a question." And I said, "What's up?" She said, "Does breast cancer run in the family?" And I said, "No, not that I know of." I said, "I know many, many years ago we had a cousin that had breast cancer, but I can't say that I knew of anybody else other than her." And she said, "Okay, well, I was wondering because my doctor just told me I got breast cancer." And that kind of tore me up because I'm like, man, again, we've all failed each other because it's the conversations that we fail to have to even, express that, like, hey, it happened in the family. It doesn't mean it's going to continue to run, but it happened. So let's be proactive. Let's get checked out. Let's look into this stuff. So that was a great question. So no, I had no clue that it had even been in the family until after the fact. And then I had uncles and other family members coming forward saying, "Well, yeah, man, nephew, I dealt with it back here." And then other cousins that don't necessarily live close, but they started reaching out like, "Well, yeah, man, I did this." And I'm like, "No, I had no clue." So that's one of those things, like, again, in our community, we just failed to communicate those things, but it's definitely something we have to get better at with communicating those things to one another because it's important. It does matter,
It definitely matters. And even, as you mentioned your sister talking about the breast cancer, because, many men um, have been diagnosed with breast cancer. That it's not
Absolutely.
common, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I imagine that it could be quite embarrassing, right, for a man to say that they have breast cancer. Um, but nonetheless, the information,
Mm-hmm.
being able to share that, and I think, even removing the stigma that causes people, because embarrassment and shame, that's all rooted in fear. And so, creating an environment that is welcoming and warm, that says, you know what, we're family. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to be in the corner laughing at you or cracking jokes, you know, but we're going to hold your hand, period. And, that there's so much fear, when you hear the word cancer. Um, and even to hear you right now, to watch you this evening as you're being dad all day. Yes, man, it's red. It's a truck. And just talking with your son, but listening to you talk about how it was so difficult to share that information with your older children
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't want them to worry about you because you're dad. And it's your job to worry about them. But one of the things that I have found in my own journey and in talking with so many others, the number one thing that the doctors tell us to avoid, stress, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remove the stress. But how great a stress. One of the first things that people says, I didn't know how I was going to tell my family. I didn't know how, and it's that, I mean, the magnitude of that stress, because you're preparing now to carry the load of what you have to carry personally, but you're also preparing to carry their load.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a tremendous place to be in. And to listen to you talk about that. And, to hear you say that your kids were like, come on, dad, come on, man. What did that make you feel like when they said, come on, dad? How did that make you feel?
Um, hmm. Again, it's a truck, yeah, big old truck, man. Um, Again, like I said, it was one of them things. Like, man, I never want to put that stress on y'all, and that was the biggest thing. I tried to get them to understand, like, I get it. I know y'all love me. I know y'all will be here for me, but I never want to be a burden on y'all. Y'all
Mhm.
were never a burden on me.
Yeah,
Um, I've always did my best to be a great dad to y'all. Y'all were never a burden. Y'all didn't ask to be here. You're here, and it was my job to take care of you, and I did that. And it's never y'all job to take care of me. So it was it was a bit emotional for me to just hear them say, "Come on, Dad, we got you. You don't have to go through this alone. Don't do that to us. We not like that. We get it. You have been a good dad." So it was emotional, but it felt good despite what the situation was, it
yeah,
felt good to just hear my children say, Dad, we got you. You know,
yeah,
we get it, but you've been a good dad, so we got you. So don't do us like that. Don't leave us out of the loop. We'll go to treatments with you if you need rides, whatever you need. We got you because you are a good dad. So it felt good um, to just know that they saw the love I did instill in them. Yeah, it's a car tire, buddy. So it was emotional, but it felt good to just hear that from them,
yeah.
and to hear them say, "But you've been a good dad, so don't leave us out the loop because we're gonna do what we need to do to make sure you're good." So that was just good to know that I have been good enough to them to where they are respectful enough to say, "No, Dad, we got
Mm. Wow. That's so beautiful. I know
you."
that just had to make your heart smile. It really is making my heart smile too. Um, just to know that you receive that type of love and support from your children.
Absolutely.
That's a
It's a
beautiful thing.
it's a truck, buddy.
That's a true testament to
Absolutely.
to you, Dad. That's who you raised.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I wanna ask you about your treatment and about the follow-up, the surveillance that
Okay.
has happened. So from before with the prostate cancer, um, what did the follow-up surveillance or monitoring, what did that look like? Was that like receiving CT scans, MRI? Like how did they monitor that? And then with afterward with the bladder cancer, what does that continued surveillance look like?
Okay. Excuse me, 1 second. One quick second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. So once the treatment was over, um, red, yes, sir. Um, once the treatment was over, then the follow-up visits began to look like there was a lot of blood work. Um, following that, there was blood work, um, testing the PSA levels to make sure that they were going down, and staying down.
Mhm.
Um, one thing about uh, choosing the radiation over the surgery, right? Because you can either do surgery and have the prostate removed, or you can do the radiation treatment to essentially shrink the cancer, and hopefully it continues to shrink from the radiation and goes away. Um, with the radiation treatment, um, there's a continuing blood test to make sure that the PSA levels are going down and staying down. Um, so for initially, it was like every 3 months, um, and then it's been from every 3 months to every 6 months. Now we're coming into once a year. And then once the numbers are down good and staying down, then the test won't be necessary except like every 5 years. There'll be a follow up blood test to make sure that the numbers are staying low. Um, with the bladder cancer, I was having it. It came to light because I was having some bleeding during urination. I started to notice blood. And so I went in and I said, "Hey, doc, this ain't right." And he like, "Yeah, you absolutely right. I don't like how that look. That's not good." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on? Let's fix it because just last checkup, you told me everything was looking good and the numbers were down and things were going in the right direction. Now I got this bleeding. What's up?" That did we ended up doing a bladder scope, for him to go in and see what was going on, where it was coming from, and that's how he found it from there. Since then, after the procedure, where he went in and he pretty much cauterized some vessels and cleaned everything out, um, noticing the cancer, kind of doing some localized radiation while he was in there, and putting me on a medication. Forgive me, I don't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but putting me on this medication that helps with bladder cancer and the shrinkage of. And so I was on that for probably about 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And then after follow up testing with your analysis and blood work, seeing no more blood and continuing the blood work and seeing nothing showing up in the blood work. So yeah, we are today. Essentially, everything is good.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful thing. Congratulations. To
yeah.
God be
Thank
the
you, thank
glory.
you. Absolutely.
So then your follow-up, the surveillance will just be around the prostate, making sure those numbers continue going down and watching just your blood work. And if you have anything that hurts, bleeds, or burns, you'll definitely go and get it checked out, right?
Trust me. Trust me. Trust and believe me. Yes, absolutely. Yes, so November, like I said, early November, second week of November, I have a checkup, and then close to the end of November, there's another follow up checkup. One being for the prostate, the other being for the bladder. But praying and claiming that all will be well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely praying with you. And there are so many that are throughout this community, locally, and across the country, across the world, that are praying and standing with you. And with so many, right? Just to continue to encourage, educate, enlighten, and empower through the words of testimonies like yours, right? Man, it's so wonderful to hear the story of not just a survivor, but you're a thriver.
Oh
And
yeah,
that means so much. It means so much. I'm so glad to know you, right? And to be able to sit right here and to have this conversation, knowing what a blessing it is to see your face on this screen and to be able to encounter you somewhere in the community and say, that's him. You encouraged me. So thank you.
thank you.
I
Thank
thank you.
you
I thank
for
you.
all your continued prayers and support. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, I'm here for you. I'm holding your hand in the spirit, and I thank you. Thank you for all who have taken the time to view this from the beginning to the end. Take the time to like and share and tell someone else about it, that they too will be encouraged, that they too will know that they are not alone. Cancer does not have to be a death sentence, but it can definitely be a second chance at living the life that you were really purposed to live. So, with that being said, we thank you for joining us and we look forward to seeing you in the community. And as Delaney was saying, go get checked, request that
Absolutely.
PSA test. And if they won't give it to you, tell them, well, I'll just go get me another doctor. You hold the chips. You got the health insurance. It pays the bills. So thank you again. This is Navigating Cancer in the Community with Chanel Dismond and tonight's guest, Delaney Sanders. I love you, my friend. Continue to
Love you
be well.
too.
All right.
All
Have a
right.
great
Take
one.
care. You
Thank
too. Bye bye.